All right, hey folks, we're going to do some artwork tonight. We're going to do some creature tokens for the upcoming adventure that we are going to publish on DMsGuild. Gristles of Mavar, an Eberron adventure for 8th level characters in the nation of Karnak, fighting undead the way we were meant to. Let's see how my signal sounds today. Fighting undead the way we were meant to. Let's see how my signal sounds. Sounds straight to me. All right, cool. I'm going to kick through my intro here real quick, and then we're going to do some art. So let's see, hit the Twitter, and now we're going to drop anchor into the Discords. Bloop. So hey, my name's Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online, and I have been focusing my attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition for the past 5 years. There's a slew of links in the description down below that will take you to DMsGuild.com, where I publish my work. I have extensive free previews to everything that's listed down there. So if you want to pop it open and take a look at the kind of artwork that I do, you'll see more of it reflected in today's adventures. If you're a D&D enthusiast, especially 5e, and if you're either a DM or a player, however you sit on the table, the stuff that I build in there, I run in my own campaigns. I run a campaign from level 1 to 20 in about 200 to 250 some odd hours. And so the things that I publish are tools that manifested during the course of a campaign, or I know I wanted to create a specific style of campaign with different type of mechanics inside of it. So I built the mechanics, and they're cool enough, I published them. So that's kind of my deal. So this adventure uses a lot of the design ideas I have about adventuring in general, which I've talked about in a lot of the previous episodes if you want to catch up on those. There's some recordings of like braiding different plot lines and stuff together. So there's some fun stuff back there, and I like to ramble about that stuff in general. So we're creating an adventure, and we're doing the tokens since it's like VTT, or you can print these things yourself. And if you want to follow me, you can at Twitter at Phil Kearney, Twitter X platform. Let's go. I have a Discord channel now. It's Phil Kearney Creations. If you are here with me now, hey, click the like button, subscribe, notifications. Thanks a lot for folks that are taking an interest in this stuff that I do. It's a lot of fun, and I like sharing it with people. That's why I make all my stuff free preview, so you can see what it is I'm trying to create. And buying that stuff isn't so much I want to pay to try to get access to the content, but we want to give you money to encourage you to keep doing it. And God bless you folks for doing that. It's one thing to be told that to have your dad put your picture on the refrigerator, but it's another for people to throw money at you to say here's a solid tip. So thanks a lot. I've got a Patreon you can follow me at. My Discord channel, here's a bump from my Discord where I always post. I got stuff, and we have a playtest going on for the martial power system. Stay around if you like and subscribe. Tomorrow at lunch, I'm going to be building a bugbear gruul barbarian using the martial power system that we've been developing here on stream for the past year, and we're just now starting to fire up. I've been tinkering with it at my home table from level 12 to 20, but we're going to roll over into a spelljammer platoon campaign that's not really going to have that kind of intense action economy. So I can't really use them. I can't roll the campaign over and use my home table for the low levels. So I have to create a new campaign and ask people to come and play characters and have fun. If it is fun, then success. We'll go ahead and publish the thing. If it's not fun at all, then fuck it. We'll go back and we'll try to figure it out and make it cool. It's the mana system that's important to me more than anything else. I want to be able to express characters, any classic character, using color mana, and this is that last piece that makes the bridge between Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons just rock dwarf solid. And so I'm really looking forward to that. So I'm willing to tweak the system however I need to make it feel balanced in the world. But I'm convinced the mechanics is what I am here to do. So have at it. I made this book cover back around episode 40. The full creation playlist is here. We're up to episode, where are we at? We're at episode 190. So, and this is going to become my morning project. As soon as the Spelljammer book is finished publishing, this is going to become my morning Monday through Friday art project, and then Spelljammer will have been published. So I'll be able to focus the attention on the Martial Powers playtest and building the Spelljammer campaign in the evenings, lunchtime, and on the weekend. So I have a lot of open space for me to show you what, like, if you're interested in this kind of crap, tune in. But it's me being a DM, building a campaign, and like if my players watch it, it's all going to be random generation. So we're going to make random tables, and then once that's built, whatever the RNG does will help generate the story inside of the environment. So right now I'm making an assassin vine. Let's see if this turns out okay. I'm going to do this, ass in vine. There. We got the fire going. We've got a nice cool glass of water. I've got time on my hands. I'm going to get a timer going here. There. Right, okay, so we have the label. I'm going to drop the label down to Hya. An assassin vine is basically a knot of vines and limbs that like to thread together to make nooses that they catch things in. They strangle them and then wrap around them and feed off of them. So it's like a very loose, casual, shambling mound that'll just like hook a noose around your neck and take you if you aren't paying attention. Well, hey, how are you doing? Chevelle, what is going on, my guy? Welcome to the team. We're making the. I'm gonna drop the opacity on this down so it's more of a hint than something I need to do. But this tree outline here, it's I work in silhouettes a lot when I'm making tokens or spot art like this. So it's I just noticed how I've got this branch here going along here, and then I've got this other thicker branch going along here. It's creating this long line. Like if I were an elf and I were to, holy shit, that's cool. Hold on real quick. You probably see what I see at this point. That would be a badass fucking bow. Knock your arrow. Recurves. Oh my god, that would be just a fucking great bow. I'm gonna actually set this aside. Keep that in mind for the future, right? That's exactly what I would expect elves to do. Fucking love that. Hold on. These are my keep junks up in here. I got a folder worth of stuff just like that I pulled off of these things. It's like I want to remember this instant, so I'll peel off the instant. I'll drop it in my keep junk, and then once the project is done, I'll go back to my keep junk file and then start sorting through stuff. You'll see that process once we publish these things. We'll do our file cleanup and see what's scavengeable and what needs to, like what I can afford to now like throw away and clear up space in my CPU. And what can I do to better organize all the files that I'm going to keep, and then what scraps are laying around that I can harvest for my own stock art for me to be able to continue building on other projects. So we'll see. Like when the spelljammer book finishes, for example, that's when I can start building my mecha campaign books. So have like Gundams and I don't know, mech. I mean, we're already there in Spelljammer with spider ships, right? I mean, all you gotta do is shape them back into human shapes. And you got mecha, we have the mechanics, we have the technology. Now all we need is the skin. So I'm gonna spend time doing mecha skins. Probably in a couple months. I'll get serious about doing that. Once my campaigns are up and running and that stuff is cleared out of the way, I'll start building the mecha campaign book, and it's gonna be fucking fat. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to drop this down to a lower opacity as well so that I can operate in black to distinguish the assassin vine from the environment that it's going to be drooping from. But my goal here is to basically just create like a ropey, viney sort of thing that makes sense. We changed the anatomy of the branches. I'm keeping that line there. That's fucking cool. But we're going to, so I'd switch up the anatomy on how the branch flows here. You can see these outlines that aren't connecting with anything, even if I get rid of that. No, I threw it away already. No, never mind. Anyway, the tree isn't shaped and hanging the same way anymore after cleaning it up. So we have to redefine how the assassin vine wants to drape on its tree. So we're going to go through that process right now. Create little... My top priority is to create nooses. So I'm going to find fun little blips where I can get a noose going in here. What has everyone got going on tonight? Thinking like, I think I can make it like a little spade. I don't want to get too intricate with the leaves, because that way lies madness. Having like hand drawing individual pieces of foliage is psychotic. Do not do it. You will drive yourself fucking crazy, unless you're trying to train yourself on how to build foliage. In which case, have at it, Haas. You ought to do it. But man, that way may lie madness. I have dove down that path of intricate detail work before, and bleh. Hold on, there's some text down there. Let me catch up with the team. Sup? Hey, right on. You know, I had a lot of study hall in high school, and I spent almost all of it drawing or reading comics. We traded comics, but that's also where I started like doing dungeon design, and I had, you know, an hour a day for me just to fuck around. So I had lunch, and then I had study hall after. So I had a 2-hour block that I could sit down and just make dungeons. It was hardcore. A lot of fun. There we go. Nice. That's sitting where it's supposed to sit. So I always like, you know, if my rambling is zone worthy to help people fall into that empty space where the inspiration lies in abundance, then I am doing a good job for folks. I'll probably get a pretty heavy ramble on here in a few minutes. I've been thinking about my my upcoming campaign. The characters are 20th level in our time travel campaign. They're in the process of killing a time god, and once they succeed, they'll be able to drop themselves out of the time loop. That they're in a Groundhog Day. They got recruited at first level by some dream shamans to help them with a problem with a spirit, and the team accepted. So they got the spirit tapped them on the head. And then they woke up at the bar that at the very beginning of the adventure. These guys had never played D&D at all. Any edition, no edition of D&D. It's like, we saw Critical Role. Phil, I hear you play D&D. Can you help us understand what this stuff is? And like, yeah, I'll run a game if you want. They're like, okay. So they were brand new, completely green, only had seen Critical Role. They're co-workers, so we could all get together one day a week for 90 minutes. So 5.5 years later, they're now 20th level, and they have a plan to kill the god, or at least banish it for however long they can, so that their version of their world is safe for as long as they stay alive, and it becomes somebody else's problem. So they'll leave footnotes, but they're just trying to punt the destruction of the world for long enough for them to feel like they can live out their life. So that's the campaign. They, at first level, they woke up in the bar hungover. It's like super cliche as you can get for a D&D game, because they never played before. So I insisted on the cliches, because they want to know the experience of waking up, of being in a bar when you begin an adventure. It's so cliche, and I owed it to them, because I don't know if they're ever going to play D&D again. So I got to really cram that crap in there for them. So that's what we're doing, right? They wake up drunk in the bar, and then they go about their day, and there's apparently somebody died, and they had to check out what that was all about. So somebody hanged themselves off a ledge on a really old monument, like a statue from a previous culture. That was just like the random dungeon thing that's in vicinity of the hometown that they grow up in at first level, right? A dungeon within walking distance of the day. So I set that up for them too with this dragon statue. And sure enough, Zeke is up there. He hanged himself. And so that kicked off a first level adventure, which is an investigation, where their hit points, combat doesn't even come up. They aren't fighting anything. I don't have my characters fight anything until third level, but I play first and second level to establish tone and attitude, and to establish pecking order and personality conflicts in the party, to smooth that over until they have to start actually counting on each other to stay alive. That's just how I develop squad tactics and small team stuff. So that's just me. I mean, your models may vary. But so I'm just describing what this time travel campaign was for no reason other than I fucking love my team. I love my team so much. They're so great. So never played before. They're doing the drunk thing. They're going through this investigation using skill checks, learning how that crap works, and what can they get away with asking for or not. And I grant them inspiration every time they show up, because they're coworkers, right? They can get buried in work. And let this thing fall to the wayside because of production, and we want to have people chill the fuck out and have a reason to be excited about coming into work that day. D&D is fucking genius. They ought to pay me for it. They really ought to. I really should have a conversation about that with them. But yeah, so first level, they're checking out this investigation. They during the course of their investigation of why this guy may have killed himself, they found out that there is a secret door that leads into the dragon statue, and from the looks of it, it had been opened recently, possibly for the first time in centuries. So of course the team became interested, and that's when they started learning about mana traps, like having to burn spell points to protect themselves or to disable different magical traps, and how to detect traps, and how to decipher how color magic works. So went through the whole narrative magic paradigm with them, which they grokked. It just makes sense. So they latched onto it quickly and started to have fun with combining spending mana and doing skill checks while they're dealing with magical circuitry that's inside of this dragon. So while they're doing that and they're fucking around, they find another secret room that has a throne in it. And when you sit on the throne, it thrums with energy. And there's two globes on either arm. And inside one of them is a beta fish. And the other one is full of liquid, but there's no fish in it. So they end up establishing a telepathic connection with the fish. And by the time the ranger was third level, he gained the Beastmaster feat. But he was also a Horizon Walker. So he was working both Horizon Walker and Beastmaster, both subclasses at the same time, as a Gestalt character. So his pet became a spirit beta fish that was always in the ethereal plane. That explained why he could do the Horizon Walker subclass stuff, like force arrows and like being able to teleport and hop and stuff. It was cool, and then we were able to develop additional things that you could spend mana on to trump that stuff up to use as magic fish to do more ethereal stuff. It was fucking cool. But I mean, it's been hour and a half a week from level 1 to 20. It's been 5 years. So we've been playing this game for 5 years. And we're finally in like the last 2 episodes of it. And we're going to start something over completely different. And it's just been, it's the best fucking campaign I've ever been in. It's the best I've certainly ever ran. And honestly, I think the reason why I was able to pull it off as well as, it's a time travel. Okay, sorry. So they're fucking around with this dragon statue. And while they're fucking around, they find the beta fish. And about at that same, and while they're starting to establish a rapport with the fish to find out, because it's alive. So, and the ranger, and there's a druid that they figured they could communicate with if they threw mana at it using Speak with Animal or whatever. And so they established a rapport with it so it could do a little bit of a data dump for them to get kind of a prologue, I guess. I'm missing the word right now. When you do like, it's not an epilogue. It's when you talk at your audience. Fuck, I can't believe I'm blanking on this word. Like it's not as God, my vocabulary is just flushing out of my head right now. I'm trying to make a joke about how I can't remember it, but I don't know. I can't remember the words I wanted to use to taunt myself with. Now that is just, God, that's a fucking meme right there, man. Anyway, so they're fucking around with this dragon, and then a bunch of orc shamans show up. And they're first level characters, and there's 15 battle-hardened orcs waiting for them to come out of the dragon. So they come out of the dragon, they call them out. It's like, yeah, you in the dragon, get out here. You know, so the team comes out, and they start dealing with these orcs. And so they get in this conversation, and the orcs say, you know, the only reason we're here is because we have this prophecy thing that says that, like, when this boom happens, we should go to the dragon statue and talk to whoever's there to help us with whatever problem is about to happen. And that's when the sky peeled open, and it started just becoming, just derezzing into oblivion. It's like, I guess that's the problem. They're like, fuck, what is that? It's like, I don't know, man. But you're supposed to help us, so will you? And they're like, yeah, of course we will. And then he does a magic usual thing and taps them on the forehead. And they wake up back at the bar, hung over at the beginning of the day. So that's the beginning of the campaign. And then from there, they always wake up at the bar, hung over at the beginning of the adventure. So over 5.5 years, they've woke up hundreds of times at that bar. So this team, what I think is particularly amusing about this is, like, this might be the only, like, if these guys drop out, they may never play D&D again, who knows. But they'll have had the experience of so many tables, of literally having hundreds of adventures start at the bar. Like, this team has probably had, statistically, is like in the top 2% of players out there that have had adventures start with, you're at the bar. Because every time they die or the day ends, they have to start the day all over and try something different. So they've literally attacked, how can we stop the world from ending, for 5.5 years. And it's just, oh my fucking God, it is awesome. So that's coming to a close. And they're oh my God, they're such great players. I love them to death. And they want to play Spelljammer. They knew I was building a book for Spelljammer. And they're excited, but we now have 6 players that are interested. We've grabbed people from HR. We have people in management. We have people in ad development. We have them in web services. I work for an advertising agency, so I do marketing analysis and lead generation stuff. So it's fun and it's mathy, and I'm pretty good with math. So it's fun stuff, but man, I like that. That looks really, actually, I can keep this really simple. Excuse me for a second. I better do another mic check to make sure I'm coming through clean again. Sorry about that. I was choking on to make sure I'm coming. About that. I was choking on. choking on a chicken bone. When I ride, I'm in Seattle, so when we ride the bus, there's regular people that ride. When you're on a commuter route on a bus, there's always the same people, right? It's a commuter route. But there was this one kid in the afternoon that would TV on the bus with me for like maybe 15 minutes. He was like maybe 14 years old, and he was always listening to loud music or whatever. But he had this habit of saying choking on a chicken bone whenever he wanted to explain why something would happen. like a cop car would drive by with its sirens on, and he says someone choking on a chicken bone, and like everything to this kid was about choking on chicken bones. And I was kind of wondering about him, but I didn't want to break the illusion, so I never asked him what the fuck is going on with his life. But so whenever I'm choking on spit, or like I can't clear my throat, it always makes me think about choking on chicken bone. Anyway. I need to mute the mic for a second. All right, I'm going to try that again. I am having this choking fit, so I am having... There we go. Okay, everything should be groovy now. Thanks. I'm getting this loopiness going on here. Yeah, that feels right. So the world is ending. It ends at the end of the day, right? They have basically 18 hours to save the planet, and if they don't pull it off in 18 hours, then they die, and the day resets. If they get killed during combat or during a trap sequence or whatever, the time loop works that if one character dies, they all reset together, so that no one has any downtime. Everyone is playing all the time. And everyone has to cover each other's ass, and no one can drop below 0 hit points. We don't do death saves. It's just if you hit 0 hit points, because the point of the game is to loop the day until they can fix it. So we have save or death, gotcha spells. We got save or suck. Like we'll deal 150 damage if you fail the saving throw. Stuff like that. Like just like this place will delete you if you fail this check. And they know, and it's been that way since first level through the entire campaign. It just keeps ratcheting up in intensity as they fight bigger and badder things during the course of the day, because when they die, they keep looping, so they're gaining experience inside of the day that they know. At the higher level they get, the more efficiently they can resolve what used to be big problems, because the narrative is because they know how to get around it, right? So like a guard might have a DC 15 to be able to sneak past him, and that might be difficult at first level, but by the time you're 5th level, the narrative would be like, if you go back, like there's so many things, it's so many different directions that they went in, and they chased absolutely every plot line that I threw out there. They just gobbled all of them. Like, as soon as I shined, like, had any kind of a sparkly, shiny thing at all, like, hey, this character seems mysterious. They're like, oh, we're going all in on that mysterious-looking character, yo. And they would, like, hard dive into just any random plot point that I would throw out there. And it could, because if I wasn't ready for them to go where they were going to go, I knew that if I threw out something shiny, it would distract them for the rest of the day, for the rest of the game, exploring what that thing is, because it was a lunchtime game. We only played 90 minutes once a week, so that's why it took 5.5 years to finish the campaign. But if I didn't have the answer to something, I would distract them with a side plot, and I'd have a week to finish to dive in deeper with what does this mean to the time loop campaign? How is this going to affect things in the future? And do I need to allow this thing to have ramifications? And how do I had to build all these different time structure mechanics into the game to be able to give them challenges in an episodic sort of feel that had a continuity with the storyline throughout it. And that is a lot of buffering, a lot of RAM that I had to process while I'm running a game, having all this shit floating around inside of my head while I'm telling them what the ramifications of them killing that orc is going to be, because they could hold me accountable to it later. So only having 90 minutes per week allowed me to be able to build a frame that I could have them operate inside of for another 90 minutes. Like, all I need to do is just keep them distracted and push the ball a little bit in a direction for every 90 minutes, and we'll eventually get to a place. And they do. They kept coming to conclusions, and they found shortcuts to stuff, and things that used to be difficult became very easy for them to overcome. And ideas of like hey, let's spend 20 days researching this book. So they'd flip their day, go back to the book, and just start in a later page, and they could eat up days of the adventure doing research like that, which would give them familiarity or a skill or like the inspiration points. I gave them inspiration points every time they showed up, and those inspiration points they could spend on any die 20 that they wanted for any reason, any time, and they could share them between each other. And they use that as a resource with a meta narrative that these inspiration dice represent them looping over and over in the day, that they can just choose. Yeah, I remember this. I'm going to spend an inspiration point because I remember what this acid splash is like. So I'm going to re-roll that saving throw because I know if I dodge to the left, I'll get killed. This time I'm going to try dodging to the right. And then they'd roll their inspiration die, and if they succeed, it's like dodging to the right works, and then they would remember it. So like that's the narrative that we have inside of the game. So it's super fucking fun, but it's just plain it's basically just 5e. It's a 5e game, but we just have some interesting rules and some interesting narrative descriptors to distinguish this from some other type of campaign. And the dungeons that I build are oh, this is perfect. Look at that. Hold on real quick. I'm geeking out over the placement of this branch because it allows me to cheat this corner. I didn't want to overlap these the vines at all. I wanted them to have their own defined outline as you move across the piece, so that you don't get lost inside of the vines versus branches and just to make a mess out of it. This is keeping the design clean so that you can so it makes it easier for the viewer to follow the image around. It's like, oh, this is what you can see the story that's happening here. It's dropping nooses from this tree, but that's very clean language because I'm using a single, what looks like basically a single vine, like ish, but we're gonna have a braid of them over here around each other as well. But I wanted to keep these separated out here so you could see these differences, and I think I've accomplished that pretty good. Because now I can have this, like, see, I can have that looping like that, and it totally makes sense. And at this point, I'm okay with them interacting with each other because each of the lines have already established themselves separately over here and over here. So I've defined their individual space. I can now freely mix the two elements together into a single plan. or what could become a single, what could be construed as a single plant. So I can loop this around like that. And knot those together. There, like that. I love doing this kind of shit, man. God, that time campaign is so fucking badass. I I want to make a I think I want to publish it. I think I want to make a Kickstarter out of it. Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. I used Eberron, but it could be anywhere. It could be literally anywhere. It is not setting specific. All you need is a forest near mountains and plains with an ocean or swamp backdrop. It's very, very simple. Very, very simple map environment, but there's so much goodness packed into it. Because you can only travel so far. There's this book of rituals that they found very, very early on, like at I want to say second level they found it. And it's such a fucking great book. It's such a great mechanic, is what I'm trying to say. I let them. They were interested in it, so they wanted to spend some time. So they did a research check with it. They spent, I think, 2 days on it, and then I gave them an Arcana check or an investigation check using intelligence. There you go. Take your pick. And so they made a roll, and they found some sort of code hiding inside the whatever the book was. Basically a Bible to the religion that was in the region, and so we just called it the Book of Man because there was only humans. We only had humans in the game. It was specifically so that light would be an issue in dark, because I wanted them to experience having to fuck around with darkness since it was their first campaign, and I didn't know if they'd ever have another one. I wanted to give them all the shit that they should be able to laugh about with other people that have played D&D in the past. So I just wanted to make sure I was taking care of them. And so, yeah, I made them all human, but they encountered multiple different types of races. It's just that they specifically were humans. So just one of the pre-selected limitations that we established in the campaigns. And I told them specifically it's because I want light to be an issue for you guys. That's something that you should learn to have to deal with. I'm like, okay. So light was an issue for them the entire fucking campaign. All 20 levels, they're always pointing out the light spell or a torch. Like their entire 20 level campaign. It was great. Completely dependent on light. Like I could fuck them over at almost any time by turning off the lights, and they always had to deal with that. It was great. Hey, Bootleg. Hey, you're welcome. Good to see you. Those are just generalizations. Like those are probably like the earliest times I'll be starting. And if I am starting on the dime, I've got like 2 or 3 minutes of rambling about what I'm doing. It's like my channel's the fucking worst. Like my intros are like long, and it's like, why am I listening to you talking about what you've published and all that crap? Like, what's the point of this fucking stream? So I cherish each and every one of you that give a fuck about whatever it is that I've got talking about. It's truly a kindness. But this I feel like is really, really good. So I really like, yeah, I like the separation. I like how it's weaving. I think I want to drop this in here like that. Let's do that. So yeah, I'm pretty damn sure I want to turn that time travel campaign into a Kickstarter project. I don't have enough clout, support, community interest yet for me to be able to really, I think, succeed with a Kickstarter at all. So I want to use the next maybe 2 years to get all the things that I wanted, like all the things I'm geeking out about Spelljammer, Eberron, and the Martial Power System and 2024 updates. Like I want to get all that stuff out of my system and be able to sign off on them as in like these are thorough projects that have done well for me. And so I want to get all that stuff off my plate. And once I do, I want to start doing Kickstarters for system, like for 5e. I'll probably start off with 5e, but I could see myself dropping into Cypher at some point. But I want to start building like design kits, adventure kits like this that you can drop into different ways of playing 5e, and like toolkits, like what are the mechanics that you need to make this work. Recommendations, character types. Like, where do you want to place limits for yourself? And then on my Patreon, I can say, okay, for 5e IP content specifically, as a fan, I can tell you and then offer a bunch of free stuff. So, like, you can get the actual book. And then I can give you a translation guide. Like, if you want to use this in Descent into Avernus specifically, here's your translation guide. This is fan content. Fuck off. So I can cheat around. I can start cheating around the system that way. Here, I need to fix my chair. So that's what I'm thinking about doing. I need to get Spelljammer off my chest because I fucking love Spelljammer. But I can eventually start doing Kickstarter projects about Spelljammer stuff, like Warforged Mecha project, the Kaiju project. Those things I could do as Kickstarters. But like the Dwarven like how to build a Dwarven Citadel, and Crushing Giants, the Kaiju book, and I think I want to call it Crushing Giants. What a fucking great title. Hold on real quick. Go to my Discord here real fast. I'm gonna pin that. There. This is my Discord channel. If you want to hang out there, you are most welcome to do so. Discord community is right here. So occasionally, I know Discord links die. I try to update them. So my most recent video will have the most recent link that works. And if you ever are stumbling into a video, when this link finally dies, then just drop me a comment down below, and I'll just update it. So just trying to keep it current as we go through time. Let's see. I want to fill the space better. It's too heavy over here. I need to pull the eye into this space. And the easiest, most obvious way to do that is to just grab this and drop it further. Super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Feels good. And this really needs to pull away from those branches so it can have its own identity. Totes. Got some drag going on there, buddy. Thank you. I think there's some text going on over there. I feel neglecting. Yeah, thanks. Right on, Boot. Thanks for being around, man. Tomorrow, lunch, we're going to do a Bugbear Gruul Barbarian. We're building a 3rd level character, a pre-generated character. for the Martial Powers playtest that we're going to be kicking up. I could probably be done. I think, considering all my pacing and me being generally overly ambitious, I think it's probably realistic to think that I'll have the playtest content finished inside of February, and probably have everything organized to the point where I can run my first game in the beginning of March. I'm just going to push it back there to not be overly ambitious and disappoint myself that things take time, and especially with me. So that is that is, I think, a more realistic expectation. But that's awesome because it's giving us the time to lean into stuff and to let it, like the way that I find, and I hate this, but I can't fight her. The Muse has it that the more time I let something cook, the better it ends up being. Like, I have good ideas, but I don't always both the Spelljammer book and the Color Mana series. I had to redo both of those completely. One took a year of rebuilding, and the other one took 9 months. So like, I fuck up heavy, and then I figure out why does this not work? What's going wrong with this? And then I rebuild it with the specific goal of resolving what all of those problems were. So it's when things break, that's awesome, but it takes time. But when you take the time and you build a thing that is specifically built to survive a stress test of whatever the problem was. The problem I had with mana was that it was too restricting. And the original version was too complicated. I won't bore you with the details, but it was a pain in the ass. I was thinking more cinematically than practically. There's a big difference between what sounds cool and then actually executing that cool thing hundreds of times over the course of a campaign. And like, does this become fucking obnoxious? It was involving how you would maintain concentration on things and how you would devote things to color. And so that went through a drastic simplification process that went through further simplification over this past 5 years with my team using mana. I've learned a lot more. So that's why I wanted to do this rebuild in 2024. The new 2024 Player's Handbook is perfect for me because I wanted an excuse to rebuild all these books, and updating the rules is the best excuse possible. So I'm delighted that there's going to be new books, regardless of if they're good or not. I don't care, because the stuff that I build is, whether it's good or not, it's the kind of stuff that I want to play. I want my players to have as a DM. The books I build are the ways that I want you as players to bend and manipulate how 5e works for your advantage in the game, so that you can execute the kind of fantasy that I'm attempting to narrate and provide to you. So it's I'm really big on mechanics that will help reinforce the narrative and style of campaign you want to play. Like using daily, giving, every time you show up, you get at least 2 points of inspiration that you can spend on re-rolling dice at any time you want. That reflecting your characters repeating the same day over and over again during the groundhog, that becomes an excellent mechanic that can express how does that affect your character. Well, you get these inspiration points because you remember shit, and you can drop that d20 in anywhere that you want and re-roll it. This is like, I remember this. I just talked about that. I'm looping over here. God, I'm caught in a loop. I got a fire in the background snapping at me. You're right. But yeah, I'm starting to reflect on that campaign a lot. And I'm also thinking about that we now have 6 people that want to play. It was 3, now it's 6. So it's gained. If you're into that sort of thing, we've gained a little notoriety at the office. So we now have a bunch of people that want to play. So I have an hour and a half to give 6 people a 5e campaign experience, and I'm figuring out how to do that. So I know for a fact what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert everything into one sort or another of group tasks. Combat is not going to have. I was just talking about this on Monday too. Boy, that really crystallized for me. is that I don't want to use combat action economy in this campaign because there's too many people that deserve the right to do something over the course of a 90-minute game once per week. So if I grind the scale of action economy down to the combat level, it's going to take a party of 6 people to run a 3-round just a 3-round combat, probably 2 hours. That's just 5e math. So I can't do that. It's not the right thing to do for the campaign. So what I have to do is decrease the importance of combat in the campaign to only be worthy of passing or failing a skill check or a task check as a team. So combat has to basically become a trap. And because of the complexity of 5e characters, I need to build a platoon campaign where the characters that they play are not important. That they can die at any time and fuck it, who cares? Just grab another character off the stack. Kind of like what we're going to be doing for the playtesting for the martial power system. It has I like when I had 3 players that were showing up repeatedly every week for 5 years, I could create a serial campaign that required a disgusting inbred amount of information about what's going on in this campaign to be able to function properly, because they built the narrative of how these time loops work over the course of the campaign. So like them just knowing what's going on was kind of just weaved into the decision making that they made. Like they know going left is stupid. It's going to waste their time. So if they have anyone that's showing up that's asking, like the person that shows up at 15th level after they figured all this shit out is basically just being dragged along on a leash and used for additional action economy if something goes wrong. And with only 3 people at the table, big battles can be resolved in an hour and a half. So if I'm going to get them into a fight, I would bait them into stuff with traps and shit to weaken them. And then when we hit the 90-minute mark, cliffhanger, here's your foe. Like currently at 20th level, they got baited into going through a magic trap that just nailed them for about 80 points of necrotic damage. And so while they're trying to figure out how much mana can they afford to throw away to get their hit points back up, they notice there's this portal in the ground that their nemesis, the Night Hag, is using to create this ritual. She's creating this portal. And in the portal, there's a giant black claw that's reaching up and starting to pull its weight up out of the portal. And that's the cliffhanger. But they know they came here to fight a shadow dragon that is controlling the flow of time in the campaign itself. They have to kill him to be able to end the time loop for good. So that they knew that's where they needed to go. They beelined for it, but they were collapsing the day too quickly. So we had about 15 minutes left. So I started creating a series of traps and damagers, things to slow them down, to chew up some of their mana. So when they get to the final fight, it's going to be more difficult because they're going to be weakened. And then on top of that, the thing is time savvy. So if they don't kill it the first go, it's going to know that they're coming for them, what tactics they can use. And he just won't be there, or he'll have planned for it, and those tactics will just get them killed. And then if they just keep coming at him in the time loop, he's just going to become more and more educated. So I get to use all my DM tricks against them the dirtiest way I possibly can as their finale fight, knowing that they've completely earned this. Because they fucked up, and they own that shit all the time. They completely own this. No, we did that. That was our bad. And like, they're so awesome about that. God, they're such great sports. I can completely abuse them, and they know that if they can just figure out how to get around it, the abuse will stop. Anyway, I am really rambling here. Yeah, I can do it with action. I can do it with Okay, so this is done. So Okay, so normally when I do a sketch, I will do line art and then do like fill in stuff, right? Fuck, I need to do fill in stuff. Okay, god damn it. Convinced myself there. So I'm going to spice up what's going on here as a separate layer. I'm just going to create little sub vines to wrap around this thing. What was I talking about? Action economy. Combat. Yes. 6 players, 90 minutes. It's this. I got to tell you, this speed campaign style has completely warped my mind about what can be accomplished when you're organized and you have a fucking plan. And it's really taught me how to value 3-round combat. Like if I can hit you hard and fast, I can get through this thing and we can fuck around with something else before our day ends. But before we have to put this on hold for another week. Another week, 90 minutes. That's all you get. Go. And after a while, they're like, oh, wait a second. We should really have a fucking plan. And it's just, God, they're such, this is the first time they've ever played D&D. Oh my fucking God. I'm so thrilled to have them. It's been a cherished gift to have these people on my team. And I forever love my Lunchtime Adventurers. It is so cool. So yeah, I want to build that into a. I think after 5 years, I think I've ruminated on it long enough to be able to have an interesting toolkit that if you wanted to try doing a time loop yourself, here's how I structured my campaign that you could use as a template to build your own if you want to, or just fucking steal it, go for it. Like that's what I think I want. That's what I think I want to do. So, but I need, I need to build momentum. So I'm hoping the spelljammer stuff and this Eberron adventure, maybe another one if I get around to it, and the martial power system with the complete 13 class color mana system. That's going to give me infinite space for me to be able to do like fan work off of my Patreon moving forward with that, so I can control my output with these ideas moving forward. So I'll have stable independence. But if I can get those things out, I'm hoping that if I don't think I have anything else heritage. Like I blended D&D and Spelljammer a long time ago, and I can do maybe a 20-page piece on that. And of course the mecha and the kaiju and the martial powers book, and I can do individual guilds and different colleges for Strixhaven, and I can do that forever if I want to. But I can just as easily do it on my Patreon if I wanted to instead of DMsGuild. Because if I call it fan art, here's the books that's on DMsGuild, and here's a whole bunch of ideas on how you can spin off on that on my Patreon. Blah blah blah. There you go. I'm gonna flip these. So flipped it. So that it lines up with the thing that's already there. I don't want to grind myself down and talk about business too much. Sorry, guys. I do that sometimes. But, I mean, I want people to see where I'm going so they know why it is that I'm doing what I'm doing and why I'm setting the things up that I do and why I talk about the things I do and why do I invest my time on the things I do. Because the original reason for me creating the stream, there's actually 2 reasons, and I've talked about this before. It was so that these huge projects I get involved in, it can tear you down. And if I hold myself accountable to show up each week, then I can have a higher purpose other than me just doing this thing. I'm providing ongoing updates and look-ats about what's going on with these books. I just thought that'd be cool, and then so it gave me the motivation to show up and make sure I keep pushing forward every day, at least getting something done on these things every day, so I can keep pushing the ball down the field until it's finally done, and then I can do the same thing for the next piece. Second is you guys get to see how over time how this the thing that we're building, how it affects my thinking about the type of things I want to design in the future, and where I'm going with it. And if you tune in and you grab these things and you want to use them in your campaign, you'll have a really deep knowledge about rules as intended, or how to use this, or what kind of things you can build with this toolkit. So it's kind of an educational process that we're both learning together, honestly, which also I think is super fucking cool. And if this was something that you would have been glad that you found off in the first place, then it's awesome. Then thanks for being in support. These are all super positive wins for basically everyone involved. So that makes it really compelling for me to talk about where I'm going to go, because if people like this shit, when I start doing Kickstarters, if I've earned your respect, then chances are you'll help back that up and help push it, So, but I'll earn that. I will earn that in time, which is appropriate. So that's why I want to make, like, why I want to do play tests and have all that stuff available for people to look at, so they can make use of the stuff and so they can play along. And maybe I'll get to a point where I have enough people kicking around that I can throw rules together and there'll be multiple tables rolling stuff so they can come back with ideas and feedback of their own about what's going on with it, and maybe eventually build a studio out of that sort of thing. That just sounds like a cool sort of thing to have happen. But I'm telegraphing all of it. You can see it coming. So the moves that I make are with the intention of doing that kind of crap. So anyway, that's the kind of stuff that I think about. But I think that'd be a really fun toolkit. And it'd be a fucking great Kickstarter, man. I think it'd be a great Kickstarter. I don't want to overcomplicate this, but I wanted to add some complexity to it. That feels pretty good. I think I can be content with that. Yeah. Now, the next question is, do I want to attempt Leafs? I believe in you. Thank you. I think the next skill set I need to acquire as a streamer is attention to folks that are kind enough to even hang around. I fall into a space and I can't see far away, so I literally have to be like, I'm this far away from my monitor, and my monitor's 30 inches tall. So it's a little ridiculous. I'll turn off the background someday when I'm trying to distract myself from an effort. But for me it's obnoxious to try to do the camera shit, so I tend to leave it alone if I can. But someday I'll show you all my setup and my rig and shit. But yeah, 30-inch monitor here, like it's like the monitor, the edge of the edge of the monitor here. Where's the tips of my finger? Here's the edge of the screen. Right here, you can't see it because it's getting blurred out, but it's just about there. Because I can tilt it around. So there. Here's the edge of the screen, right along this line, this black line that's running down the camera. That, by the way, I found out is because I have my Photoshop and menu bar selected as my OBS window. If I click off of them, they're no longer selected, and that bar goes away. But we know it's there. So here now is the edge of the screen, and that is this far away from the camera, and my face is this far away from the screen when I'm reading your text. So that's how small of a space I'm operating inside of over here in this navigation. And meanwhile, I have 24 inches over here of canvas that I need, because I like at this distance, which is a punch away from my eyes. I can't read. I can't read what these words are. But if I rotate the screen around, so now the edge of so now it's, instead of being like this, it's like this, and this is within nose length of me right here. I can now read that this is Plague Hounds and Black Pudding, but I can't do that when I'm reading your text here. I can't read what this says here. That's the limitation. I can't. If I read this, I can't read that. If I can read this, I can't read that. So those are the blindness limitations I have with my retinas. So it makes for fun conundrums for me to figure out how to operate in space like this. Which is why if I'm hyper focusing in over here, I can only see in my peripheral. I'm touching the screen, I can fucking see what I'm talking about. If I'm messing around over here, inside this space here, I can only see the text over here in my peripheral. So I can see movement occasionally. I was like, I think someone's saying something, but until I disengage from that space and come back over here to read what it is, no idea. So that's why I'm inattentive, because I'll fall into this space of writing, of drawing something, and it causes me to miss what's going on. So me figuring that out is basically going to be my next level of becoming a better streamer, I believe. So there's that, and I think I can do another one here. Anyway, like I said, I'm telegraphing everything. I want people to know what it is I'm doing, why I'm doing it, where it's leading to. And I want people to know what's going on, because some people really geek out on that kind of crap. You know, I do. So, you know, if I know what's coming down the pipeline for something I think is cool, then it's like, yeah, I want to stick around and find out what's coming up. And I know for a fact that the stuff that I do, at least a portion of people think is kind of cool. So anyway, I'm talking business again. Don't mind me. Yeah, I was geeking out about the time loop. Oh yeah, and I was talking about action economy. That's right. I was talking about action economy with the new campaign that I have to build. I'm gonna have 6 players. It's ridiculous. So I'm going to have to basically convert the game into a series of interesting group skill challenges. That is something that can be resolved repeatedly, quickly, and people can contribute. Because so if you're doing a group, the way that I do group tasks is you can either, like, I do turns. I do everything by turns. In combat, out of combat, everyone has a turn. What are you doing? Okay, great. What's everyone else doing while you're doing that? Because we all know at the table that we have a very limited amount of time. And if we parse out stuff too much, then we're going to not make the progress that we want from a game-of-5 perspective. So the team is pretty good about like, well, we can all process stuff together, and if they're all performing tasks, we can blend all that stuff together into the DM providing one narrative about what's going on right now. And I can find ways to connect one die roll to another. So players can either do their own die roll, but there's only going to be one check for each particular thing. If you want to be involved in researching the book, then you're going to be helping and basically contributing an advantage to checking the book, and you're done. So once that book is completed, I'll catch up with you. And then, so what are you going to do? And then we all do those things. We calculate, well, which one's going to take the longest to get done. And during the rest of that downtime, the team just learns about each other and starts building camaraderie off screen, because they're just fucking around doing whatever it is that you do when the camera's not pointed at you. And so whoever's task takes the longest, there you go. And once that time goes over, we all roll the dice together, and then we resolve what the narrative is, and I fill in what's been happening during that time period. And if there's anything they want to do to take action on, that sets off the next series of events. And everyone then is like, yeah, I want to figure out what was going on with that guy that we spotted. It's like, okay, great. Well, you already resolved that there was a weird guy that was checking things out while you're doing research at the library. And now that he's on your radar, what do you guys want to do as a team to resolve who that is? And then everyone might have some ideas that they want to chip in about how can they resolve figuring out who that guy is. It's like, great. And if one person doesn't have any idea in particular about how resolving the problem, then they'll just I pass, and lend advantage to whomever it is that they think that has the best chance of succeeding. And then again, we figure out how long is that going to take, and then we resolve it, and they're ticking down the hours in the day till the end. Like in the time loop campaign, they'll tick down the hours of the day, and once they run out of hours, they know they're going to reset. So they start getting smart about how long is something going to take, and can we collapse time frames if all of us focus on that? It's like, yeah, you're only going to get advantage off it. Yeah, but it's worth it to us as a team to cut that timeline in half. So we're all going to work on it at the same time, even though it's only going to give us one advantage, because that's time that they're getting back, because the campaign is all about time. So I can take that lesson and see how can I apply pressure to the spelljammer campaign to have a similar logical natural game loop build out of that using 5e mechanics. And the best way to do that is to stay with the group initiative thing. where everyone's acting together, and then everyone resolves stuff. Like in combat, everyone declares their action, and if you end up having, like, sometimes they decide we got to double tap that guy because I don't know if you're going to kill him or not, and we're not going to find out until next round if you did. So I can't wait to see what happened and then shoot it if it wasn't good enough. It's like, no, you're either 3 of you are shooting that guy, or 1 of you is shooting them, or none of you is shooting them. What do you want to do about it? It's like, well, yeah, I think 2 of us are going to shoot that guy. No one's going to take a defensive position and put down suppressing fire to make sure that the line doesn't advance. It's like, okay, great. And then that's super fast to resolve. I can do that as an action, as a skill challenge, if I grind down, if I use theater of the mind, so your specific placement on the battlefield doesn't matter, but you can narrate to me how you want your posture to be, or what kind of cover do you want, or how do you want to stack your team up to be like a SWAT team, to be organized and working together to get through doorways, to explore space, to secure areas, to move on to the next areas. I can do all that as a sequence of skill challenges. In a 5-room dungeon, I could probably break that down into like maybe 15, 16 skill challenges to be able to wipe a dungeon, like a 5-room dungeon, to be able to wipe that space and move on to the next thing that they want to do. So I think I can do that, but I need to break down the structure of it and the action economy and how can they use different die rolls to do different things, and like, do I need to invent different type of skills, or are we going to use their weapons as tools that they're proficient with to increase their die rolls? See, that might make a lot of sense. But I want to stay inside the toolkit of what already is 5e mechanics and just change the labels on them so that we can have... so that it'll feel familiar to you, but it's different from how you're normally playing D&D. Because that's what I want to do with my books. Is I love the D20 engine. I think 5e is the best mechanical version of Dungeons and Dragons that's been published yet. And big hats off to Wizards for what they've accomplished. But I only think it's awesome because I can do these things to it. So that's the thought. So I'll be, once the Spelljammer book is published and the Eberron book slides forward, now I feel I'm content with this. I think that's pretty damn good. Yeah, we're going to leave it like that. So we're done with this one. Where are we at? 8:55. Do I still have a timer going, or did that get killed? I feel like I should have a timer going. Nope. Sure as shit, I got killed. All right. Well, I'll have maybe like another... We'll do this for another 40 minutes, 20 to 40 minutes. We'll see where we're at. But okay, so Assassin Vine, for now, I feel pretty good about it. So we're going to move on like that. We're going to push it up the line. Doop. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left. Okay. So let's go to random.org. What is the fuss about true randomness? I don't know, man. I just need to roll a D5. Can you help me out, brothers? Thank you. Number 1, get bent. What are we doing? Number 1, Plague Oak. All right. More plants, huh? Fine. I like this guy in general. It's obviously very rough. So I think, yeah, I think we can have a fun time cleaning this dude up. So let's get after that. We'll drop you down, and we're just going to do some more branches and gnarls. This will be fun. So, yeah, tomorrow we're going to have lunchtime development for Martial Powers. We're going to build a bugbear gruul barbarian. Gruuls use green and red magic. They are the eco-terrorists of Ravnica, enraged that the natural order of green magic has been usurped by the logic of blue and the greediness of black, and the self-righteousness of white. They want it to all burn down, and they don't care who they have to kill to make it happen, if you're that sort. All alignments work within all the clans, all the guilds. My favorite example of this is Rakdos, which is red, black energy. And that means that's generally presented as carnal hedonism, with a potential suicidal bend to it, or masochistic, like sadistic, kill you, burn you to death degree of demon worship, and it can get out of hand. And that's the dark evil energy of what Rakdos is, and that gets a lot of attention. But the good side of Rakdos is people that want to legitimately make bullies fuck the fuck off. And the biggest bullies around to them is the Azorius Senate and the rules that they institute, especially in the mind zones, where they are literally monitoring your thoughts as normal citizens. If you want the right to live in these spaces, you will be subjected to 24-hour probing with telepathy, where it's a security zone. And Rakdos hates that shit beyond all compare. You can be a perfectly good person and hate that prisoners have mind taps on them. So if you are a criminal of the state, they will forever know every thought that they have, and they can hold you accountable for them. It's just evil. It's to Rakdos, that's evil. So if you want to play a Rakdos campaign that isn't about hurting people, what you can do is attempt to free people from those mind prisons and to let them escape, like get them away out of the city so they can run away. Very Aeon Flux in style. But so that would be a really fun campaign, what was I calling it? Mindspace, right? A Mindspace campaign where it's like Azorius versus Rakdos and Dimir, where Dimir and Rakdos are teaming up against Azorius to free political prisoners, and so that Dimir can get access to their thoughts for themselves, perhaps. But Rakdos's bend is that this is the ultimate affront to people's private sovereignty. And we won't have it, so we're going to destroy you for doing these things. It's like that's a cool campaign. That's a campaign I would be proud to run as a DM. So naturally, I want to build a toolkit out of it. But that's another example of bending how 5e can be played, like the narrative themes behind it. And I already have an entire mana system built around black, blue, white magic. And red, right? You know, the color mana system. I built those tools so you can do things like this, and I love it. So I want to be able to dive into that space in the future as well. But MTG and D&D, MTG as an IP is bound to the DMsGuild, but available. So otherwise, I can do it as a patron. So if I start building out stuff like that, I could potentially just build little things and put it up on my Patreon. That'd be worth a reason for people to hang around. You know, adding value. There you go. Anyway, talking shop. But yeah, so Gruul, that's what we're doing on tomorrow at lunchtime, is building a Gruul barbarian. So the red-green energy is them being enraged about how the city has literally covered the entire planet, and that there's no natural ground sees the sky unless it destroys the buildings that are built upon it. So Gruul is about ecoterrorism, disrupting regions of city, letting them fallow and then be reclaimed by nature, and then they try to defend it from infrastructure redevelopment. So when the team shows up, they're going to be viewed as eco-terrorists, or they're going to be viewed as potentially infrastructure surveyors that need to be killed. So the team is going to be fighting Gruul clans until they can convince a Gruul clan, one of the tribes in the Gruul clan, that they're not even, they have no idea what you're talking about. Their plane got wrecked. The Gruul may have shot it down, depending on what random background information is that we decide to provide about the story when they start investigating. It's Schrodinger's missile. We don't need to know who shot the missile that shoots down your plane until you find the person that shoots down your plane, and you know it. You know, so like it can be real ephemeral in that sense. I think that's the right use of the word ephemeral. So you don't have immediate access to the Gruul clan. So it's not mission critical right now for me to build a Gruul character, because you won't have access to them as a guild resource until the team in the playtesting forms an alliance with one of the tribes in the Gruul clans. So, but it's the next one in alphabetical order. So I wanted to do it because I'm kind of excited about doing a barbarian, because we haven't looked at rage effects yet. We haven't had any practical look at on stream of the rage effects. The thing that makes barbarians so fucking cool is that Rage doesn't allow you to concentrate, and it doesn't allow you to cast spells. So what's great about that is martial powers isn't spell casting, it's channeling, which is how we classify not having to use material, verbal, or somatic components to be able to trigger spell effects like monks can. Like the Way of the Four Elements, we define that as channeling. So the channeling class feature is not pact magic, and it's not spell casting. You don't have access typically to any spells that would be on spell lists, so you're spending mana to do rage effects, and they're specifically not spells. They're built specifically for use with rage. So that gets around the spell casting limitation, and then with concentration, we honor that you can't maintain concentration, and we allow you to stop concentrating on spells by locking your mana. So if you lock the mana, it reduces the level of effects that you can produce. Like if you're 9th level, you'd normally be able to do like 3 mana effects. But if you lock one point of mana to maintain concentration or to sustain without having to concentrate upon a first level effect, then you only have 2 levels of effects left. So even though you know 3rd rank powers, you'd only be able to channel 2nd rank powers because you locked one of your channels. So you're reducing the amount of channels available for your character to be able to do things with. If you lock all 3 channels, you can sustain effectively 3 levels worth of stuff, whether 1 3rd level effect or 3 1st level effects, your choice. Whatever it is that you want to lock your mana up, but it's going to eliminate you from doing anything other than cantrip level effects, which we have multiple ways for you to cheat yourself into being able to do that when you would normally have to spend mana. You trade action economy for free mana to be able to trigger effects that you don't technically have to spend mana on because it's free, or you're reducing the cost to 0. So when you reduce the cost to 0, you're not spending mana at all. It just becomes one of the cantrip effects because you paid for it by, like, if I give up 3 of my attacks this round, I can essentially do a 3rd level fireball for free. But otherwise, as a fighter, I'd make 3 attacks and probably do around 40 points of damage. This way, I'm doing it as an area of effect. And I sped up the round of combat. So we're getting through combat more quickly, so we aren't burning out on every fight. We can have more fights per day that are shorter. That's what I'm attempting to accomplish at the low levels with this martial power playtesting. So I want people to sling mana around and find ways to cheat their way out of action economy to get bigger effects. So you're killing shit quicker with more damage, and you're spending less time during your round making actions to do it. You're sacrificing things you could do so that you can do more of the thing that you choose to do. And there's a couple different, I think there's a couple different RPG systems that are being developed that play with ideas like that are building their own system. But I thought, I started this project over like maybe about 16 months ago at this point. And it was at that point I was like, I want to develop a Book of Nine Swords system using color mana so that all characters have the same resource that can be freely shared between multi-classing, and that can be expressed with color magic. So we're going to use the color mana system that I developed, and so that I can not be doing spell casting, I'm doing something different, so that we can differentiate between what martials are doing and what spellcasters are doing, so we can play with the action economy like this and just make it a part of slinging mana. Like I could do a scion, like just like that. I'm just going to do the main book, and then I'll do a psionicist. You know, like a Psi Warrior, a Scion, anything. Basically, they would just specialize in maneuvers, which are spell-like effects that you can trigger as a bonus action or an action, or you can do the same one twice in the same round as both an action and a bonus action. Just choose 2 targets and go for it. So you're chewing up your action economy to do these things, and you're doing less things with bigger impact, so that, again, you're collapsing the time frame it takes to process D&D combat. And if you're a martial character doing shit like that, you aren't dreading being a high-level character. It's like, no, I can speed up my round and just blitz this guy and just knock him out of the fight right away. Now we've reduced this down to like maybe a 2, maybe 3 round combat, and we just chewed through some shit. You know, we can get back to puzzle solving and stuff, but still have the narrative and the fun of throwing around shitloads of mana to disintegrate stuff. Like, that's just, if you've played Path of Exile or like any of the Diablo games, being able to kit out your character to have destructive sequences to clear enemies out of the way is the goal of the game. So building an action economy and a resource system that encourages your characters to specifically do that is playing the game correctly. But you just have to make sure that it's fun to do it. So by teasing your action economy and cheating extra mana into your system, you can reduce your action economy and have bigger effects. And it's super fun at 20th level when you've got a crap ton of options and a ton of mana to throw around and do it with. You just do explosive stuff. In your 20th level, you should be disintegrating stuff when it comes near you. Good job. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. I just want to see how well it plays out at the low levels to make sure that it feels fun without being unbalanced. So anyway, that's like major objectives to the playtesting that we're going to do. So this barbarian character that we're making, they can't maintain concentration because we want to respect the rules of how spellcasting works. Because I expect these characters to potentially be able to multi-class. So they'll have to be able to multi-class into a possible spellcaster. And I want to be able to distinguish between what you can and can't do with rage from power to spellcasting. While you're raging, you can't cast spells, you can't maintain concentration, but you can channel power. And instead of maintaining concentration, you can lock your channels. So when you lock your channels, you automatically succeed. Wrong wording. You don't have to maintain concentration. You never have to make a concentration check. So if you're maintaining like a 3rd level haste ability, it takes 3 mana at 9th level. You could lock all 3 of your channels, have haste active permanently on your character, but all you can do are cantrips now. But you're hasted, so there's pros and cons, and like you might not want to do that until 13th level. And considering that I run 1 to 20 level campaigns in about 250 hours, it's realistic in my games that you're going to actually do that. So I actually have to design the game so it works at high levels because my campaigns go to 20th level every 250 hours. So this is the 4th one that I'm doing. So like it's consistently true. So I build tools to be used, and the high levels, they aren't hypothetical for my tables. We spend 60-ish hours in every tier of play repeatedly. So it's I like that I run the game, that I have a team that's willing to stick around that long to be able to play things out like that on multiple years, to be able to run through campaigns like that, for me to really be able to dive into how high tier play in 5e works. So I spent like 8 years in 3rd edition playing above 20th level using the Epic Level Handbook and the Savage Species books. So we were clocking in. I think when we finally stopped playing, when I moved from Phoenix to Seattle, I think we were regularly building characters at 24th level when we build a new adventure. So with like all the complexity that goes into a 24th level, 3rd level, like Pathfinder, first edition Pathfinder, for those that are maybe more familiar with it. Like 24th level using first edition Pathfinder is what we were playing weekly and killing each other like with missile tag and shit. So like we learned how to really abuse high level characters and like what you can get away with. It was a lot of fun, and it was a massive learning. It was a massive learning experience for our entire table as players and DMs, and it was amazing. And when 5e came out, 5e is so easy in comparison to 3rd edition. So running a 1 to 20 campaign and then just saying, yep, that's it. No, like deciding to agree that there shouldn't be an Epic Level Handbook, and not bothering with anything above 20th level makes running campaigns so easy when you were trained on 3rd level epic campaigns that were just thousands and thousands of hit points that you're dealing with at a time, saving throws in the 40s. You know, it's like, it was really easy. It's super easy. So 5e is for people that train that hard. 5e is easy mode, and because it's you can manipulate how the game works so easily. So and the bounded accuracy really does make a difference, and characters really do have a max cap of what they can accomplish, And the DM can always throw something bigger and badder. And if you have a narrative that allows you to throw bigger and continuously badder things at your team via a spelljammer Planescape campaign, you can always outmuscle the team. And depending on how you structure your campaign, they can always be killed whenever you choose. So, and have stuff in the game reinforce it. So it just depends on how you build your campaign, and a lot of people don't have the opportunity to have that experience. And our table very specifically, we chose, like, we are going to learn how to use the Epic Level Handbook. We're going to learn how to use these tools. They built them. It seems like a lot of hypothetical shit out there around how this stuff should work. Let's really lock it down. And that was just transformed my perspective about role-playing games in general. And I have been in love ever since with D&D. Like, I started off with D&D back in the mid 80s to begin with anyway. But as more editions came out, every edition has made me more powerful as a DM. And the tools become better, and they allow me to manipulate systems more easily, so I can come up with new ways to play the system but still be playing the system. And you feel it, right? And it's cool. It's super fucking cool. But you have to choose. Like, you have to choose to make that your hobby and find other people that want to dive into that depth of experience, to get that good. Like, you're actively going out of your way. Like, we are going to show up and train Tuesday every week and play D&D for 3 hours to learn how to do this stuff better. Because we love it and we want to get good at it, and we are willing and able to sacrifice that time each week to commit to doing that. And that's how you build a team. Like, to have a serious objective of, like, why are we doing this? What are our goals? Does this jive with everyone? And then it just becomes a recruiting mission. We're looking for someone that's interested in making that level of a commitment. And all of the other teams that I've built, that was the front lines. Like, this is what we're looking to do, and we want to see if you can hang. So we'll let you hang out with us for a few episodes, and if you aren't hanging, then we'll skip you out and we'll go to the next guy. And when you stick, we'll keep a roster on hand of other players that were interested, and we'll see if they're still around when this guy drops out. And if this guy never drops out, awesome. But we're ready if they do. So we always had a floating roster of like maybe 20 people that we can call and follow up on. It's like, yeah, are you, like, does your life still allow you to do this? And are you still that compelled? And they're like, yeah, I think that'd be awesome. It's like, okay, great, let's try it out. And then they're in the mill, and we'll start a new campaign, and we'll just kick around and see what happens. So I've got another 20 minutes I can burn. Let's do it. I'm really, really excited about what this could all be, and I'm loving how well these mechanics are shaping up, and just there's stuff I want to do. You know, like, I'm motivated and I want to do these things, and I don't know how productive or profitable or whatever they're going to be. I just know that I'm excited about doing them. And if I don't chase the things I'm excited about in my life, why am I running in the first place? So I got to do it. I love this song. This one's called Eastern Drill by Blue Steel. Hey, Tax, what's up? Hey, Boot. Hey, right on, my dude. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you hanging out. I love having a study hall for people that you can either pay attention to or ignore whatever it is that you're talking about, but just have an excuse for you to have a little knot of time for yourself to squirrel away and do whatever it is that you want to do while I talk about whatever it is that we end up talking about. So you have a fantastic night, Boot. Thanks a lot for being around. I appreciate you asking stuff and just inspiring me to drive through all the grueling shit. So peace, my guy. Glad you're around. Right on. You come and go as you need. No one is forever. So yeah, barbarians, right? So barbarians, that when they rage, normally a character could choose if you're going to maintain concentration by sustaining the power and not locking the mana, just tapping it. But if you choose to lock it, then, like I was describing earlier, you no longer have to maintain concentration, but it reduces the max rank of power that you can channel. And if you're if you're multi-class and you're also a spellcaster, it reduces the maximum spell level you can cast. If you're like a Paladin 9, Sorcerer 5, you would be able to Paladin 9, that breaks down to 4, and then Sorcerer 5, that would be 4 and 5, that'd be 9. So you'd be a 9th level spellcaster, and coincidentally, you'd be a 9th level channeler. So you'd have 3 ranks of power. A 9th level spellcaster has up to 5th level spells that they can cast. So if you could maintain concentration on a total of 5 levels worth or ranks worth of effects, right? But you only have up to 3rd level rank, while you have up to 5th level spells. So if you locked all 3 ranks of power, you'd be able to lock and permanize those effects without having to maintain concentration. You wouldn't be able to channel mana into any powers anymore, only cantrip-like effects. But you'd still have 2 channels open that you could cast 2nd level spells through, or even maintain concentration on an additional 2nd level spell for a total of 5 levels of spells that are now maintaining spells. 2 you're concentrating on and 3 are locked. So there you go. So you can multi-class characters like that. And but the barbarian, whenever they rage, anything that they trigger that could be sustained automatically locks. So they can get around the concentration issue, because while raging, if you channel a sustained power during your rage, it automatically locks on and becomes part of your rage. And so when you end your rage, you can choose to dismiss the powers and open up your channels again for you to do other things. And some barbarians, I don't know if it's been a while since I've looked at the barbarian class features, but I think some of them have they can cause damage when they dismiss a power that's when a power that's locked. When they take a bonus action to dismiss it, it causes damage around them, for instance. So they can choose to lock powers on purpose with the intent of detonating them, so they can do area of effect damage around them. It's the paladin is the one that becomes the tank, and it's the barbarian that becomes the one that does burst damage around them. So they lock their channels on, so they become buff machines if they want to, and anytime when they dismiss their effect, ka-chow, they can do detonation effects around them. So they become these high damage, high mobile, high defense tank machines that are strikers, high fast-paced strikers, using their rage as a fuel source for them to be able to strike things. And the paladin becomes a healer, tank, battery for your team, being able to give mana away like lay on hands to be able to rebuild people's mana pool, and to be able to tank shitloads of damage, and to be able to shrug off the amount of damage. We built a Boros Paladin, demonstrating how heavy a paladin can tank. So I'm super excited about Gruul, because we can show what an ultra aggression, high damage dealer can do as well. So I'm really, really excited about that. And so that's what we're planning on doing tomorrow. We're going to do spelljammer art in the morning, of course. We're building planets made of ooze, magma, ice, and smoke tomorrow as illustrations of different types of planets that can be seen in a random wild space system. So I just got to make some neat little globes with different elemental effects inside of them. It's super fucking cool. Very, very fun. So that's what we'll be doing tomorrow morning. And what else? Yeah, and then Gruul lunchtime, barbarian. And that'll be it for Friday. And then on Saturday, we'll do our design. We'll do our lunch. Saturday morning workbench. I do commissions, and then I do stuff that's on my workbench. So right now, what's on my workbench is the Ravnica Rubble Belt campaign to playtest the martial power system I've been talking about here. So I have to build the RNG systems for the Hexcrawl style Westmarch campaign with changing roster of players and a changing roster of characters every time that we play again. Need to lock down what day we're going to play, and then get a confirmation of how many people are available to do so. But for now, we need to finish building out the campaign toolkit so that it won't be difficult for me. Once I build the tools, I can run the tools like a program to generate hexes for color mana to then run the team through for 3 hours a week. You know, have have it generate 7 or 8 different dungeon environments, and depending on where the team goes, interact with and conquer that space so that they can advance their hex crawl. So, hey Shiner, how you doing? So yeah, I'm really excited about that. I'm seeing the structure, and like I said, things take time for me to cook. Everything that I slow cook turns out good. I'm good at making game design stew. So I have to let it cook, I have to let it simmer, and that means that things take a number of weeks for me to be able to percolate and coalesce in my mind and to get the right amount of flavor to be fun to play with. And that's about where we're at with the Ravnica Rubble Belt that we've been streaming on Saturdays. So that's what I do with my Saturdays for now, is develop that Hexcrawl toolkit. And so we're making some pretty good progress on it. But that's what we'll be doing on Saturday again. And then we'll and then off screen on Saturday, like after I finish streaming, I start doing a recording for my Sunday weekly recording. And I normally don't know what it is I'm going to make until the night. Like I might have an idea on Friday. Typically by Saturday morning when I wake up, I'll know what it is I'm going to do. And so I can go through my workbench stream, and then after that, I make my video recording, and then I post that on Sunday. Monday is a holiday for me, so I have the day off. So I can spend some extra time in the morning working on spelljammer art, and then on Monday we can come back at lunchtime. We can do Izette, and then we'll be back for Eberron Monday night, again, just like this, what we're doing now. Token monsters, and but I don't have a time limit on any of these things. I can just do it until I'm done. I might not do it any longer than I normally would, but it's not gonna be like, oh, it's 8 o'clock, I gotta go. And it's like, no, I want to, it's 8 o'clock. Let's just keep doing shit. And if that's in the space that I'm in, then I can just keep pushing through, and then I'll have downtime for me to do whatever it is that Phil works on when he's not streaming. But I could then also have a casual stream on my Discord, so I can play Led Zeppelin and Sepultura or Black Sabbath or whatever while I'm working on like tokens and stuff like that. Manual labor, like labor work that's not nearly as fun to watch, or that requires a little bit more concentration, that I can't ramble as hard as I normally would. So I can at least put on like really like music that I love to listen to and just be on stream for people to study hall with. I like the idea of using my Discord space that way, because I'm going to be putting in the hours anyway. And the more accountable I have myself publicly to getting stuff done, the less I procrastinate. So I don't mind showing up on my Discord stream just to hang out and listen to music that would get me copyright strikes on YouTube. But it's not my scheduled time, but it's my day off. I have a vacation day, so I can spend that time doing stuff anyway, just not behold myself to YouTube standards of what it is that I would do to start building my own Discord culture, around hanging out and doing shit. Which may escalate into something as time goes on, because I'm still new to this space, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, looking forward to Gruul. That's going to be cool tomorrow. And looking forward, we're getting real. Once the Spelljammer book is done, then this Eberron project becomes my Monday through Friday morning project. It used to be my morning project, but then Spelljammer caught fire, so I slid this to the side burner, and it's just been letting it simmer with these nightly Monday and Thursday night streams for literally the past fucking year. Jesus Christ, that's ridiculous. A ridiculous amount of time, but it is what it is, and God bless it, because I've got more people interested in what I'm doing now than a year ago. So it's not time wasted. It's more people getting to see my shit. So that's actually really cool. I'm really happy about that. Don't mind things. As long as I get to keep playing, I don't care how long it takes to finish the game. It's all that I want to do. I just want to have the chance to build one more thing. Just let me stick around and do one more thing. I'm hoping all the rich people and esoteric teachings are correct. That if the things that you do in life you're truly excited to do, you are effectively immortal. And I see very rich people that are very happy with how they're spending the time in their life, and most of them look really freaking good. Maybe it's them getting spare pieces from the island, or maybe the gurus are actually correct, and it's just that super wealthy people have the opportunity to allow themselves to feel that way. And maybe that's the thing that we were sold, is that you have to have a high income for you to feel like you live with abundance. Until you have this many zeros in your bank account, you aren't abundant. And here's some really expensive yachts that we can spend an hour on a cable show to prove to you that you do not have abundance like this. But that makes you stop thinking, well, what other ways can I have abundance? Like, all I need is a computer that works, a stream that feeds, and an idea about what's the next thing I want to do. And I can fall into deep space for hours on end and effectively become immortal while I stream. And I don't know, man, maybe it's just placebo, but I actually feel like my hair is thicker now than it was a year ago. So maybe there's something to that, man. Maybe there's really something to just committing to doing things that you really love to do and not being guilty about it. Like, this is my hobby. My life is accommodating me the ability to do this as much as I want. And that's empowering. So that allows me to actually seek balance. I don't feel threatened that I only get to do this a certain amount of hours a day. I can sustain a day job that allows me the abundance of a salary to be able to honestly do stuff that I love during my day job, and to that then affords me the opportunity to do this. So I've got a really good life set up. That I'm stuck in the wheel of working for an employer doing an office job, but I'm just happen to be really good at my job, and I receive high praise and pride from the work that I perform. So my day job actually inspires me to be able to, keep doing a good job, to earn the right to be able to do what we're doing right now in my off time. I'm very thankful for that, and I think a combination of that thankfulness and excitement about what's happening is allowing me to open up that sort of portal to be able to slide through while I'm excited about what I'm doing. Speed bumps are an issue, though. Because when you burn out, you burn out. Well, when I burn out hard. So I'm thinking this current iteration of processes of juggling multiple large books is helping me stay in that production mode while not hyper-focusing on any specific task for too long. Like me implementing this 20-minute marker here is like a smaller example of how I try to conduct my week, so that I'm moving through various projects that are making me think in multiple directions at the same time, so that I can keep the plasticity to not feel like I'm wasting time on any particular project at the moment, because I can't work on any particular project for too long before being required to switch my time over to another priority. It's very compartmentalization. And as I understand it, hyper successful people are really good at doing that. So what can I do to make my life evolve into a place where I feel pride and joy and excited about doing similar things, so that I can set up a feedback loop inside of myself of pride and accomplishment when I run that program? It becomes a chemical dump of dopamine and serotonin, success of satisfaction and pleasure, and accomplishment is serotonin. But that's what artists do. They sculpt their physiology to reward them for hyper-focusing on grueling, labor-intensive concentration specific effects like art, like sculpting in particular is much more brutal because unless you're dealing with a synthetic material in virtual space that you'll 3D print. You only get one crack at getting your sculpture right, otherwise you're starting over. Like, that is a gutsy art, and I respect it very, very much. It is beyond I would never test myself with like stone sculpting. It's just, I don't trust my vision. I'm sure I'd be awesome at feeling the energy inside of the rock to be able to pull things out of it, and in that sense it's compelling to me. But thanks for the love, whomever. That's really sweet. But yeah, know your limitations, you know. I am perfectly content with beating the odds of being able to paint and color with the limitations that I have. That is like how can I not be excited about that? How can I not want to be alive forever? Just to prove that we really can overcome anything that comes along. It might seem trivial to people that don't give a shit, you know, to be able to create professional level color without actually being able to see color at all. That is something that just drives me to want to do more and more color work. Like, just to prove I was fucking here and someone figured it out, and I'm recording this shit. So you can see how I'm playing with the RGB stuff up here and how I'm just pulling samples off the internet. So the 1 in 1 billion chance that there's another colorblind guy out there that just wishes that he could fucking paint and color, stumbles across my shit, and catches fire. Just catches fire. God. I mean, if not me, who? And it's such a niche, just like insignificant, pointless little demographic that would be helped by that. But there's maybe 5 people that will ever see this stuff, and they'll be like, oh my god, I can do this. What might I unleash? I was fucking here. I was right here. It's exciting to me. It's a tweet. Hey, Cat Up. Sorry, I'm on a rant here. I'm ridiculously excited and thankful for who I am, where I'm at, what I'm doing, what this is. People, go click on Ked's name here, and go check out his shit, because he's releasing new Cypher System stuff, and Cypher System is my godchild game system. If I'm not playing 5e, which is never, but when I don't play 5e, I play Cypher instead. So Ked Up is very much a kindred spirit to me. He is an artist designer who is neck deep like I am, but in Cypher instead of 5e. So I honestly, Ked, I feel a kindred spirit to you, sir. And I look forward to the day and time in which we would be working on the same thing, though it would be years from now, because I'm buried with my own ambition. That was my timer. It's 9:35 here in Seattle. Started snowing today, our first snow of the year. Awesome. It was gorgeous. So I need to sign out here. So I'm just letting the muse find a resting spot. Yes, this is a tree that attacks and kills you. It's like the poltergeist tree. Nom 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 nom. It's the only tree that survived in the manifest zone. You know, there's something really fucking don't bother me about this. It's got dead soldiers littering around it. We'll probably get to that. I need to check the description again for this encounter. But there's only one tree of woe in the game, and but yeah, it has bodies littered around it. It's like, wow, this is a do not touch place. A nice fun fact for anyone out there: if you choose to play the gatekeeper plot hook, where you're recruited by gatekeepers to be teleported into the manifest zone with what is essentially a bomb, a nuclear bomb that your characters are supposed to set and detonate so that you can destroy the manifest zone, you'll survive. You'll survive. You're supposed to survive. So it's not that. I'm making it sound dramatic. It's not that dramatic. But there's these things called seal gate, gate seals. They're like little mahjong tokens, right? And they're scripted with magic. And when you throw them into the nexus of a manifest zone, they become 2-ton bricks that basically unpacks itself. The manifest zone energy that it hits acts as like an execute command in a program, and it unpacks itself into a 2-ton stone that then drops and seals the manifest zone. You have to destroy the rock to be able to destroy the manifest, to be able to possibly reopen the manifest zone. So when you drop an anchor, that becomes a base of operations for gatekeepers to keep control and protect the gate seal that they placed. So their plan is to take over that citadel that your characters are dungeon crawling through by making it a new gate seal location. Your characters are the SWAT team that's going in to drop that bomb to open up that option for your characters to then become the protectors of that spot. So creating that Dominion style of play. But fun fact about that is if you choose that plot line, they use Tree Stride, the spell Tree Stride, as a massive ritual to teleport your entire team thousands of miles across Eberron, and of course you have to appear in a tree. And the only tree in the manifest zone that still exists is this. So your characters appear here, 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 and here, and it just immediately starts mauling you. So your first encounter is immediate, and you have to escape the tree. There's dead bodies literally all around it. No one's tough enough to go get them back. So you just appear in this field, and if you aren't strong enough, you just get fucking mauled. It's like shit. So now you have to go find some place so you can rest. So your time running around the manifest zone is determining: do we want to fight this thing, or do we want to run away, secure ourselves, find their way out of the manifest zone, back into the forest, where they can get some fucking rest, and then they can go back in, knowing how dangerous the place is. It's a very different experience than showing up as a sheriff in a town that's just been attacked by zombies. It's like, what's up with these zombies? And you lead your way into it to find out what's going on. No, these guys just get dunked on. It's like, here you go, slap you in the face, let's go. I think it's fun. So anyway, there's our Plague Oak. I'm pretty happy with that. I don't need to do anything complicated with it. This is, seriously, I just wanted to clean up the line art a bit so that it would look... I'm going to just fuck with this for a second because I still need to finish the teeth. It's basically like a massive, like a very treesy lamprey. I mean, it's a plant, sure, but it's more like a leech or a lamprey. Like with its teeth, how it latches. It just feeds into things. And its branches, its tendrils can entangle and then drag people down underneath it and get them digested down there. So there are ways that this thing can give you a bad day. And it's not technically an eyeball, but I like alluding that it is. I mean, we anthropomorphize things by nature, but so I like to lean into that. Build those things in and then disintegrate it a little bit so we know where it was. So when we sculpt things, we can just naturally see it. So I think that's it. I think we're good for the day. So when we finish all the line art for these, we'll come back and we'll colorize them because these will be good to go as line art. And so and they're only black and white, like with line art ink, so that they're easy to laser print for people that use laser printers and they want to print these things out to be like little, like tape them to a poker chip, so you can have like little tokens. That's a fun thing to do. So I wanted to make sure that there was clean black and white versions of everything, so that you could print them. You could have cheap printing, and then format them on the pages so that you can actually print them page by page to be able to assemble these things in flesh space, while doing the full color. Because you could, if you wanted to print that, if you want to print in full color, you'll be able to, but easily put them on VTT. So all these environments and all these tokens and stuff work as intended on virtual tabletops. I use Roll20 myself, but whatever. So I'm going through the process of making sure this works that way. And then we'll go back through and we'll color everything. So that is done. I'm calling it like that. I'm going to stitch that one shut. So I'll be back tomorrow morning. We'll do some more Spelljammer system random system generated art. We only have a D4 left here. We might be done with this. We'll be done with all the line art probably like in 2 weeks. So considering how little time I invest on it right now to push out Spelljammer, yeah. So anyway, I'm nom. Hell yeah, man. But the love is there. Thanks a lot, guys. Shiner, Kedep. Bootleg, and who was the new blood that came through? Kashubal. I think you've been here before, Kashubal, but I haven't seen you often enough to remember you offhand. My apologies. But hey, I love Thursday night. I love that I get to see people. Thanks so much, guys. I will be back tomorrow morning. So, laters.